Hi. So day 4 of the Manchester test is just over and we have had a very observing day's play and also a day which would be very interesting to analyze, because while we should be fair in giving credit to the two Indian batters who played so brilliantly in the last two sessions of the day, but at the same time we should not also lose focus of the fact that it has been an ordinary test match for India, and India team has not looked the kind of team that it has been in the first three tests. So we also have to be very objective in that, and we should not get carried away by what happened in the last two sessions. Otherwise it would just look like what happened in the Lord's test. Some people got so carried away with the resilience shown by Jadeja and Siraj and Bumrah that they were only telling that, oh, we just fell short of by 22 runs, and they didn't give exact focus on the fact that we still lost so many wickets by the time Bumrah came in, which was not acceptable, and it was a very ordinary batting show on a pitch which was not actually a minefield, and there yet we lost the match by 22 runs and we got all out for 170, and we were delighted, or some of the people were delighted with their analysis that see from 115 potential 115 all out we reached 170 and we gave such a great fight. So we should not do that kind of a mistake. We'll try to be objective about the entire test match and also at the same time be fair to the two batters and the captain who played so brilliantly to take India to a position where there is now hope for a miraculous draw. Now let's get back to the day's play. The game started today morning with overcast conditions, so there would be no excuse now that India has been unlucky, because India has been bowling in the last 2 days when there was bright sunshine, whereas England was bowling on the first day under overcast condition. Today morning there was rain, there was overcast condition, and Indian bowlers were fresh and they got the ball to bowl to the last 3 wickets of England team. That is from the England were already 7 downs. So Ben Stokes, who had cramps from yesterday and was struggling with his fitness, and he had only Dawson, who has been out of England test setup for 8 years and who has made a comeback only, even though he is a handy all-rounder and a good batter, but then he was making almost like a debut against some quality bowling attack headed by Bumrah. So he was on the other side, Stokes was there, and then there was Kars. Of course, Kars has scored a brilliant 50 in the in the first innings at Lord's Test, and which turned out to be decisive also. But then at the end of the day, he was a number 10 batter, and then last batter, Jofra Archer, is no great shake with the batting. So considering the kind of batting strength and the arsenal that England had after being 7 down, it should not have taken India, or India should have managed to dismiss England pretty easily or pretty cheaply. But forget the 50-55 runs that was the optimistic hope that England should have had. England went on to add 125 more runs, and that was a very brisk pace, and they went on a rampage against every Indian bowler who came on to bowl. That included Jadeja, Washington Sundar, everybody, and ultimately they scored 669 runs before Stokes got out after scoring an absolutely fantastic century, his first after 2 years. He has been struggling with the bat for 2 years, but he has shown signs of his form coming back in the last Lord's Test, where he scored 44 and 33 very useful runs, which turned out to be decisive also in helping them to win. So he has shown signs of recovery and improvement in his batting form, and that has been helped further by his brilliant bowling form, where he took 5 wickets in the first innings of England bowling in 24 tireless overs. So that gave him additional confidence, because he has been brilliant and he has been the highest wicket taker for England in this series, and he was superb in Lord's Test also, and he was bowling non-stop and he stressed his body to help England win, and that confidence he carried on to in the first innings and bowled brilliantly for 24 overs to take 5 wickets, and that gave him additional confidence, and he scored a superb century today, and he was looking absolutely fantastic. And then once again Braden Carr scored a brilliant 47, though he missed his 50, but he has done enough damage, and England ultimately ended up with 669 runs. That means a lead of 311 runs, and that eventually turned out to be England's highest score at Old Trafford. and that 311 runs lead meant England had ruled out any opportunity for India to win this test match. So now there was only two possible outcomes from this test match: an England win, which was the most likely, or an unlikely draw, which could be possible only because of weather conditions, rain, or some miraculous batting or some great fantastic rearguard batting by India. Now, in that background, when India came into bat, it was imperative that they should have started superbly or brilliantly to give hope that they could really draw this test. But just the opposite happened. Jaiswal and Sai Sudarshan got out to back-to-back balls from walks in the very first over of the second innings, and England were reduced to 0 for 2, and India was reduced to 0 for 2, and they were in dire straits, and it looked that they might not even last the entire fourth day, and they would end up having an innings defeat today, and they would lose the test series today itself. So it was expected. Even I was also thinking that maybe my end of the day review would be the review for the entire test and also for the series, because by the end of the day, if India would get all out, they would have an innings defeat, and that would have given England an unassailable 3-1 lead in the series, and they would go to the Oval Test without any hope for India to even draw level. But then somehow Jaiswal and Sai Sudarshan's departure didn't deter the next two batters to lose hope. Rahul, who has been absolutely India's topmost batter in this series, was joined by the captain Shubman Gill, who was also brilliant in the first two tests before fading out a little in the third test, but he showed that he is ready to take the mantle of the captain and lead by the front. So both of them managed to navigate the remaining 2 overs to end the first session at 1 for 2, and they were looking really having a fight of the day in their hand. But in the second session, everything changed. They showed their application, their talent, their determination, their mental toughness, and their ability to really grind it out. And Rahul showed that he has now transformed himself in this series into the wall that India had in the form of his namesake Rahul Dravid few years back. And it was very, very interesting to note that a player who has been always considered as very talented, very elegant, very stylish, but at the same time a little inconsistent and not dependable like Rahul Dravid, has now transformed into a wall like Rahul Dravid, and he once again showed that he was not going to give up or throw in the towel. And Shubman Gill showed that it was now time for him to lead from the front as a captain and to do what he had to do, that is to bat and bat and bat. And both the batters batted with tremendous application and remained unbeaten at the end of the second session. Of course, Shubman Gill also was a little lucky because Dawson dropped him when he was on 46 just before the tea break, and that was the kind of stroke of luck he needed and India needed to march ahead. And when they went ahead went to the tea break without getting separated, that gave them further confidence, and when they resumed after tea break, they looked in no trouble at all. They were so confident, they were so composed, and they were so compact. And then English bowlers could not have any clue how to dislodge the partnership. And finally, again another session went by, and both the batters managed to navigate that session. So now they have played out 2 sessions, complete sessions, without getting separated, and they have added 174 runs and have now played around 63 overs undefeated, and that shows that they have everything, the stomach for a fight, and they have already shown to their rest of the teammates who are there to come in the dressing room that if 2 batters could bat 60 plus overs without getting into any trouble and with so much confidence, why couldn't they bat out they and the remaining batters should not be able to bat out the remaining 90 overs tomorrow to come out with a miraculous draw. And if they manage to do that with or without the help of weather or rain, that would be a fabulous achievement. That would be an awesome achievement for a young, inexperienced team without Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma to guide them, and under a new captain, and after being outplayed and dominated by England for 4 of the 5 days in this test. So that would be a fabulous achievement if they can do it on the 5th day, because in the test series so far, 15 days were evenly matched in the series. It is just the last 4 days where England has been completely dominating India, but India has a chance to completely turn the tables on the 20th day, that is on the 5th day of the fourth test, to at least come out with a miraculous draw. Because if they come out with a draw, they might not have any hope of winning the series, but they would already have hopes to draw level in the series by winning the fifth test. And if you escape from such a likely defeat in the fourth test, you can have the confidence to get back at England and win the series, even though it looks highly unlikely because of Pant's injury and also Bumrah being rested and Siraj looking completely exhausted. But you never know. You just need to go to the fifth test without completely being knocked out of the series, and then that would give you a hope to at least win the test and draw level in the series. And if they manage to draw level, it would be they who would have the moral victory over England, because England would then consider themselves absolutely gutted for blowing up an opportunity to win the series here at Manchester. So a lot of things are at stake for India, and India has already shown tremendous rearguard action thanks to Rahul and Shubman Gill in the last two sessions of the fourth day, and they have really now enhanced hope for a miraculous draw tomorrow. And if they can manage to navigate the first hour or the first session tomorrow without getting separated, then it would be really a possibility that India can manage to come out with a draw. But on the other hand, England would have hopes that yes, this day has not gone as per the plan in the last two sessions and they were struggling, but they would be fresh tomorrow after the day's rest. And then in the morning session, if there are overcast conditions, because there is some prediction of passing showers, if there are overcast conditions and if it starts swinging a little bit or singing a little bit, and they can manage to dislodge the two players who have been by far the best Indian batters in the innings or in this test so far, then they can really hope to go through and start picking the wickets. Because the biggest problem for India is that Rishabh Pant is most unlikely to bat unless he is forced to come and bat a few overs to just save the day. So that means he would not bat at his normal slot, that is at number 5. So if that happens, that means the moment England takes one of these two batters out, or if they knocks out one of these two batters tomorrow morning, then India will be forced to send either Washington Sundar or Jadeja or Shardul Thakur. That means the batting and all-rounders will start coming in. That means the specialist batters would be over, and then that would open up the game for England, and then England can try to dislodge them in the morning session if there is some overcast condition. And then once they manage to go through them, then the tail doesn't give much confidence. The combination of combos, Bumrah and Siraj, then England can hope to quickly wrap up this innings, and all things can happen very fast once 5 to 6 wickets are down for India. So everything will depend on the morning session. And in the day today, when Rahul and Shubman Gill played so brilliantly and they deserved all the credit, but we also have to be little objective about what England lacked. The only thing England lacked was Ben Stokes, because Ben Stokes has shown throughout the series that when it looks hopeless, helpless, their pitch has nothing to help the bowlers. There is no seaming condition, the ball has turned softer, there is no overcast condition. He has that X factor in him, he has that magic ball with him to take the important breakthroughs and rip open the opponent's batting lineup. But then I think the batting with those cramps yesterday and also today morning, and scoring that century has taken a toll on his body, and he has had serious problems with the cramps and hamstring, which prevented him to bowl a single over today in the first 60-63 overs. If he can manage to gather some rest in the night and comes back fresh and somehow manages to stretch himself one last time in this test to bowl some crucial overs, then he can be a real asset for England, and England will all of a sudden feel inspired once he starts getting engaged and involved with his bowling. And if he manages to take an early wicket, then the rest of the bowling lineup will be a different kind of a beast, and they will get together and they will really hunt Indian batters like a pack of wolves. But for that, Stokes has to be first fit enough to bowl, and then has to create that magic moment, and then the rest can follow very fast, as he showed in Lords. So everything will depend in the first session and also on Stokes' fitness and his ability to bowl. If those things happen, India can be in real trouble. So India is not yet out of the trouble, but a fabulous rearguard action has been shown, for which kudos to Rahul and Shubman Gill. But while giving all the praise to these two batters, one cannot lose sight of the fact that India has been so ordinary in their bowling in the last 3 days, and that is a big concern, not only about this test but also about the fifth test, which will be again crucial for India. Even if India manages to draw this, or India can hope to, at least if India has any hope of winning it, because most likely Bumrah, after bowling 33 overs in this test, will not be bowling again there, because there will be only 3 days gap, so he will be rested most likely. Siraj looks actually the player who needs a rest, because he is looking completely exhausted, and if he doesn't get back his mojo back in time, in this 3 days time, and he comes out fresh, if he fails to do that, then without Bumrah and with an exhausted Siraj, and the way Kamboj looked today, so that means they have to again go back to another change in bowling lineup. So again they may be depending on Prasidh Krishna, or hopefully Akashdeep is fit. So again there would be a chop and change in the entire bowling lineup, and you don't get too much confidence with so many changes, because they don't have confidence in Shardul Thakur, because 156 overs England batted, and out of those 156 overs India bowled, Shardul bowled only 11 overs. That means somewhere the captain doesn't have trust. Then the question comes, who has taken a decision to take Shardul? Has he been taken only for that 40 runs he scored? That means he is taken as an all-rounder, but for the role of a batter. Then in that case they would have easily gone for even Karun Nair as a specialist batter. So that completely defies logic. If you are going to take an all-rounder but don't give the bowling to him beyond 11 overs, while all your bowlers are getting punished and you have been asked to bowl 156 overs, and that is forcing you to let your two frontline bowlers who have been overworked for so many tests and so many games now to bowl 63 overs nearly, that defies logic. So that means the whole rationale behind picking Shardul has been defeated. So that doesn't give much hope for the fifth test, and that the major reason for that is that the ordinary bowling that Indian bowlers have done in the last 3 days. One can understand if one has a bad day on one particular day, but no, they struggled on the second day, they struggled on the third day, and they struggled in the fourth day, and they were having no impact against the English batters, be it the frontline batters, or be it the lower middle order, or be it the tailenders. So with that kind of low moral and low confidence, and with further damage to the bowling lineup because of Bumrah being rested and Siraj not looking fresh, it would be really an uphill task for the fifth test. So India has to address that issue, India has to sort that issue, India has to put a lot of focus on the Vijay team selection and the kind of logic they are having in terms of team selection as well as in the bowling changes. They have to really rectify that if they have to have any hope of at least drawing level this series in the fifth test. So a lot of worries are there for India, a lot of flaws in Indian performance, and that clearly shows why India, in spite of being so much in the series for 15 consecutive days in the test matches, in the first 3 test matches, has now suddenly looked like lagging behind so much from England in the last 4 days, in the 16 to 19 days. But their batters can come to their rescue, because sometimes the batters should also rescue, because bowlers have been doing the job predominantly in the BGT in the Australian series. So now this is the time for the batters to come to the rescue of the poor bowling effort by drawing this test. And then fifth test, let's hope that there will be some real introspection by the team management and the captain, and they would not do the kind of mistakes they did at Lords, this Manchester, and they will really do the course correction properly and go with a balanced team to the Oval Test. But that is for some other day. Let's first wait for tomorrow to see what miracle can Rahul and Subman and the rest of the batters do to help India draw this test. And if they can manage to do that, it would be nothing short of a real victory for India. So let's hope for the best, and let's look forward to a great tomorrow. Thank you.